Ed, what's that, brother? Ed Culbert, right?
Yeah.
God, yeah, man. I know a Culvert, so like I always like kind of tweak your name in my head before I spit it out, and I'm always
Yeah.
like thinking I messed it up.
You
But-
and every like iPhone autocorrect.
Oh, really? Same,
yeah.
huh?
Yeah. No,
Jeez.
always Culvert.
Really? Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was just me.
I'm not a tube that goes under the road.
Yeah, yeah, right. Exactly, man. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm tracking that now. Oh, cheers, brother. Thanks for
Yeah.
coming on.
Cheers, man.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Let me hit you with a little intro, and I'm filling the gaps of what I leave out. But so you're an ex-Marine captain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you went from the Marines to the Forest Service. Is it that? Am I tracking right on
Yep.
there? And was that when you made your move out to Montana at that point?
Pretty much, yeah. I got out of the Marines in 2014, and I was talking to a pretty young lady up in Virginia where I'm from, and I said, of all the states, where would you move to? And she said, how about Montana? And I said, what the heck is in Montana?
Yeah.
And so she sent me a picture, and just that picture happens to be Camas Lake here in the Bitterroot. So,
Oh, really?
yeah. So
No
I was like,
way.
all right, you got 1 year, and we're moving out there.
Really?
And she's like, well, what about all the horses and the dogs and the cats? And I was like, I'll just bring them with.
Yeah.
And so that's why we ended up in the 4-horse trailer with a 17-foot living quarters.
Yeah, dude, that's a cool story in itself. Because like when you guys first moved out, you're kind of just going to like beautiful spot to beautiful spot, living right.
Pretty
Like,
much,
in
yeah.
the horse trailer. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's so cool.
We got to basically live at a bunch of the different trailheads. So Big Creek, Blodgett, Como, or Lake Como,
Yeah.
all that stuff. So it was actually kind of a neat way to see Montana.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Trying to figure out what end is up. I mean, that's kind of how we ended up here in Stevensville. It was kind of between Hamilton and Missoula.
Yeah, totally,
Yeah.
man. And kind of same deal. You know, like a lot of work in Hamilton and more work in Missoula. So
Yeah.
just kind of ended up being there. You know.
Yeah. Kind of
Yeah.
centralized it,
Yeah, totally, dude. Yeah,
So.
and man, being close to Camas Lake too, that's cool how you were able to land it. Because most people like will find I think a spot and then they're like, well, I'll try to get close.
Right.
Like, you guys are like right on it, man. You nailed it. You know.
It was a long road for sure.
Yeah.
She's put up with a lot, so
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
yeah.
grateful to her.
Yeah, man, I was gonna say the girls in all our lives, right? You know, like especially just like Forest Service in general. You know, like it's a lot. Like I saw this recent thing on maybe the Hot Shot Brewery where it was talking about like, or no, oh man, Careers in Wildland. God, I wish I was doing the justice to the person on Instagram, but I think it might have been Careers in Wildland, and they got pretty cool things they kind of help put out like when certs and announcements are coming out for different positions.
Oh, nice.
And I think it was then we put up like the suicide rate and the divorce rate is like, especially the divorce rate is super high in like out of like U.S. occupations. We're like one of the highest.
Well, yeah, I mean, they ask a ton of not only the employee but the family. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
lifestyle. And
Yeah.
that's really kind of how I found my way into dispatch, and then now my current role over at, I'm still with the USDA, but it's rural development. It's not the Forest Service anymore. But
Yeah.
really, it was a big, massive push to try to spend more time with the family. The
Yeah.
little guy's 3 already. So
I know. Yeah, we talked about that a lot last year, man. Like working together because that's where we met. I guess is back
Yeah.
in dispatch, and just like you think like going to dispatch, it's like all right, like because that's where I was like sticking my toe in the water to dispatch, but like hey, it's kind of nice, get to go home at night. But
Right.
what time you get to go home is variable.
Yeah, 16 hours is a lot of the day.
Yeah, totally. And then like you get those late night fires, and if we don't have night coverage, like we'd be working dark to dark in the summer when there's a lot of daylight. So it's like, man, there's a lot here, and I always appreciate dispatch anyways, but like I think you get a better appreciation of like when you really get in there and see like all the stuff going on, dude.
Yeah. It's really a shame that it always seems to be the hurt firefighters that go into dispatch. I think everybody
Yeah.
would really. It's more than just talking on our radio.
Yeah,
There's
dude.
a lot of cerebral stuff that goes on, and I'm not the most cerebral person, so
Oh,
it's
same.
a
Same. Yeah, but we should get on a mic though, like so.
well, yeah.
Yeah, got some more reps on that. Yeah, because that's the reason why when I came back, I'd taken a break from the Forest Service for a season, and I felt super rusty. Like I was
Sure.
doing IC4 stuff, so like I'm talking on the radio quite a bit before I took off, and then and also like I was doing assistant engine stuff. Like
Oh, jeez.
yeah, it was called that foreman, assistant foreman back then, but now it's captain.
Yeah.
So daily on the radio with dispatch, and then IC and fires and stuff. So I felt like I was doing pretty good, and man, when I came back though after that year, I was like, push buttons, say things.
Right. Yeah.
People-
Push to talk.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh
Yeah.
man.
That's interesting because I know talking on a phone and talking on the radio are two completely different sides of your brain, at least for me. And so
Yeah, that's what it feels like for
when
sure.
you're dispatching and you're on the phone talking and then talking to other people in the room, it's just communications overload.
Yeah,
And
man, multitasking to the max,
And then, when something bad is going on, a medical emergency or something like that, and all of a sudden it's like, I need to say the correct words.
Yeah.
My dad always said, words mean things.
Yeah.
And, that's a very real thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because like the way you say something could totally relay a different side of urgency in something like that, or a different plan of attack that you don't really mean, but like it just came out, and like I wasn't really part of too many medicals, but like the one that you did, with the rec folks up Como, or trails folks. Like that one was really good, man. Like you did some good relaying and pausing and making sure the information was coming over correct, and the urgency of the medical. I
appreciate that. It's kind of you to say.
Yeah, man. Well, I was there watching, taking notes.
Yeah, there's a lot of neat moments like that. Throughout the whole span of the summer, you kind of never really know what's gonna happen. So you kind of just you never know what to expect at work that day.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And so I guess like back on the career path, so you went Forest Service and ended up in the Bitterroot, and you were on Sula first, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was on Sula in 2016, and then Missoula Hell Attack on 2017.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so that was a pretty wild season on the Lolo.
A
lot of stuff going on. So
I
was home for 17 days that summer, and my wife was like, didn't really move here to not be around you during the summertime. And I was like, it's kind of a rough season. And right about then, my back started to go.
Yeah.
So that was just some old injury from the Marines that, it was like, maybe I should actually start getting this thing checked out. Because 2018 was when I first started with dispatch. And I got a good deal, got to go burn. Took 5 steps on my first strip, and my leg gave out, and I had fire below me, fire above me. I was like, what the heck is going on?
This is how I go.
Dispatch body or something, Yeah. And they're like, no, actually, you have nerve damage because your back is broken, and it has been for years.
Oh,
so,
brutal, man.
Yeah. It's like, at least now there's a reason why my back always hurts. So.
It's not just like in your head or anything. Like, I was just talking to August about that too. Just like the mentality of just like push through.
Right.
Like it just, and no one really tells you to. It's just kind of like what we all just assume is the way to go. And it's like, just beat your body up more.
I think that's one of the drivers to having. That's one of the drivers. So in 2016, I got hired on through the Lead Forward program. Dan Cottrell, awesome human being. He came up with this grant program for Region 1, and basically directly hires VRA-eligible veterans into fire positions within the whole region. And
it was Region 1 only at that point, right?
Correct,
yeah. Gotcha.
And, so Dan, in talking with him, it seemed like a really good fit, Hey, that mindset of push through it, suffer in silence, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, that's that blue collar lifestyle that I know and love and all that.
Yeah,
and,
totally.
So it was great. And then my first crew, we were pretty vet heavy. We had Texas infantryman.
Cool.
Yeah. And he was our squad leader. And then everybody from, I think we had a couple of infantry guys, a couple of engineers, a Navy doc.
Oh, wow.
He was on your podcast a while ago.
Oh, yeah.
Doc Tyrell Starnes.
Yeah, Tyrell, yeah.
Sam Vaughn, he was also on my crew.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No way.
Oh, yeah. Those guys are solid.
They're awesome, man. Yeah, like I was supposed to do a redo with them, but
oh yeah,
yeah, like we were gonna do a follow up in TP and then just fire and weather. Never got it done.
Yeah, gotcha.
Sam went back to school, but yeah, so those guys were on the crew too.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And so got my start working with those guys, and it was really good transition because it was. I've heard it a lot. This is not the military in the Forest Service side, and it's not, but. It was good to work with a bunch of guys that, had the same experiences and stuff like that.
Totally,
I had to kind of keep the officer thing down.
Yeah, I bet,
Didn't
man.
want to,
Yeah.
And I think it was I called up Bogan, the crew foreman.
Yeah.
To ask him if I could get a job working for him. And he's like, look, man, I put these people in leadership positions for a reason. And I don't want you to come down here and try to play the officer card. And I was like,
That's
man,
what
I
he
can
said?
shut up and color like the best of them.
Yeah,
He's like, all right, man.
yeah, exactly, man. I'm not trying to bring any weight
No.
into this, you know. Like,
I just want to dig
Yeah.
dirt.
yeah, totally, man. And yeah, I talked to August just before this about that too. Just like being a good follower, you know, transcends into being a good leader. You
Absolutely.
know? So like, in being a good leader, you can do both.
Mhm.
You know, so
And helping those guys come up with out of the box solutions and stuff like that.
yeah,
You know, stay in your lane, but help other people in their lanes as well.
yeah,
So-
totally, man. And
God, I had 19-year-old kids showing me how to use a chainsaw, and I was blown away at how smart the firefighters were. Like, jack of all trade, man.
Yeah.
It was
just like country
wild.
folks. Yeah,
Yeah. Like, oh, today we're going to go mend fences. It's like, who can use a chain puller or a fence puller?
yeah, I knew what you meant.
And, you know, putting in gates and removing Kelly humps and stuff like that on trailheads.
Yeah.
Like, there is such a wealth of knowledge on any given fire crew. It's really humbling to be around that.
Yeah, so
It's
cool, man.
Really cool.
Yeah, like, and then depending on where they grew up, you know, like a bunch of my friends are from like Libby Troy, so like
Oh, sure.
all the guys and gals from up there, you know, one of my best buddies is married to a gal from there, and I mean, can saw better than most dudes I know, you know, like just growing up and having that experience, and then that's
Yeah.
super cool because then like, you know, her name's Tina, and then like Tina gets in charge of, you know, gets into a leadership position, you know, by time and grade, and like
sure.
can pass that knowledge, you know, on to other folks, man. And just getting like a better crew that can saw, you know, like learning from her, you
Yeah,
know.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
just like the ranch kids that come in, or, you know, like whatever background you kind of bring to the table. And, you know, like with a lot of the military folks that I've found out and throughout my experiences, that the radio combo is like super good. You know, like they come in, like you don't have to tell them. I mean, you tell them the basics like you do everybody in guard school, but then it's like they know, and they're usually like almost all the ones I've worked with are really good at it.
I mean, I think there's some truth to, I think people don't talk about it, but there is a fear of talking on a radio.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, you feel like you're just spotlighting yourself every
Yeah.
time you talk on a radio.
Yeah.
And you have to get over that pretty quickly in the military side of things. So I think that there is some benefit to that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, man. And then just knowing like because you have a little better, I think, web of words for concise, you know, like for being concise on the radio.
Sure,
So it's
sure.
like, you know, you get on and it's not like, well, maybe we could. It's like, you know, it's more like, you know, we're plugged in here, we're going to here, you know, whatever you need.
And the
You-
value of standby.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, standby.
I
Yeah.
haven't formed this thought yet, so I am just standby.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of take in like the question and look around your surroundings a little bit, like, okay, this is what this
Yeah.
one, yeah. Or like, yeah, I think that's a good move. Let's try that direction
For
there.
sure. Yeah, it's really something else. And I mean, so in 2018, 2017,
Yeah, when you're
I was
hell attack right at Missoula there.
yeah, I was just getting ready to go back to Hell Attack.
Push this thing in your face.
Sorry, I'm just leaning back all the time.
Yeah, no.
I
mean, you can slide it back with you if you want to do that.
Low rider,
Yeah, how's that?
perfect. No.
Yeah.
But
Because you want the sucker like an inch from your face. It's super sensitive. So like yeah, can you hear the difference? Like, and
Yeah.
then I get back on it, and yeah. Want people to hear them. Want people to hear them golden pipes.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
So 2017. Hell
Yeah.
Attack
So
crew, Missoula.
that winter, I was talking with Dan about Lead Forward.
Oh yeah.
And that was where I kind of told him, like, hey, man, I've seen what your program can do. I really believe in it. I think it's fantastic. I would love to help.
Yeah.
And, you know, he understood all of the Forest Service side, the, you know, HR, all of the inner workings, and his list of contacts is mind-blowing. Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like I know that many people. And I know Bill over here, and, you know,
Yeah. Every time.
Kalaka, and
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
where's that? I don't even know where these places are. And
Yeah.
so
Same. Like every time I run into somebody that like knows anybody in Region 1, it's Dan Cottrell.
Yeah.
You know? It's wild.
well, he was like, yeah, man, why don't we try it out? You know, so I kind of volunteered for him for a couple of weeks and just started making cold calls. And basically, it was really good for me to still have that connection with the veteran community.
Yeah,
I
dude.
think that was really helpful because I didn't feel like my time in service was really beneficial or meaningful to the point where I had hoped it would be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when I got out, it was kind of this is the best move for me in my life but I didn't feel like I was done. And so by him allowing me to kind of help jump on board and go around, we worked a lot with the Helena-based Montana Conservation Corps, huge dealings with a bunch of Job Corps facilities and stuff like that, and just getting the word out. And that's kind of one thing now is Dan is taking that program, and we actually work very closely with Veterans in Fire. It's an Instagram page, and it's run by Blake Toth, who was one of our vets.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's cool.
He was on a helitac crew out of Southern California, and he called up Dan one day and was like, hey, man, what opportunities are there for rappelling? And Dan was like, well, send me your resume, DD214, and the resume was just stacked. I mean, he already had season under his belt, and he was I'll get all sorts of crap for this, but I believe he was a helicopter crew member in the Marine Corps.
Oh, gotcha.
Sorry, Blake.
Yeah.
But so basically when he saw how simple it was for the Forest Service to take somebody on and put them in a position, he was like, well, why don't we just do this more often?
Yeah.
And because we were Forest Service employees, Dan and I were kind of like, I don't really know about the social media thing. Could get in a lot of trouble with that. And I mean, even before coming on here, I called Dan up. What can I talk about? And he's like, you can talk about getting me onto the podcast. I want to talk to Luke.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I can't wait to have him on, man.
But so Blake kind of took the Veterans in Fire thing on the social media side and just started slinging resumes and helping out as many people. He's, doesn't care where they go to work, just wants to make sure that people get the opportunity to represent themselves and get work wherever they want. And so now, to my understanding, Dan is with the Work Environment Performance Office and taking this thing national is kind of the goal. And so that's fantastic. I'm really excited about it. And, I'm grateful to even be included in the conversation, really.
Yeah, totally, dude. Like, I mean, I even Googled it, and your name came up with Lead Forward. I was like, oh, this is cool, because I was trying to do a little research.
I'm on Google?
Yeah, with attached to Lead Forward, and it was pretty cool, man. Because I was like trying to just do a little background information, do some homework.
Sure.
When you came on, and then talking to Dan yesterday too about his new position, working with. It's still kind of lead Forward, right? But it's not like really the same title, right?
I think it's a workforce development specialist or something along those lines. Yeah.
And so he works with veterans, and then also through like Job Corps too, which I thought was kind of cool. And is a great idea because like the Job Corps is a great opportunity for folks too.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a hidden gem.
It is, man.
The opportunities that Job Corps can provide to people of all backgrounds, not just the
stigma.
When I was working with those guys, they were really adamant, like, we want to get away from the hoods in the woods kind of mentality, because that's not what we are.
Yeah.
And I mean, they had students showing up in suits with like a briefcase ready to go with all their information, and just wanted the opportunity to learn trades. And anymore,
advance their life.
Trades are a fantastic route to go.
So. It really is, man. Yeah, the cost of college just keeps going up, man, and like not too many blue collar folks can even afford it anymore. And you go to trade, especially like Job Corps, and I only have experience with Trapper Creek. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
God, I messed it up, and I even worked there. Trapper Creek, and like they, you get a little bit of a stipend to live there. They give you clothes. You get a chance to try out a bunch of different vocations. Trades. And so you get your trade tryouts, and then you get to pick what you want to go into, and there's a pretty good variety even here just at Trapper Creek.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And then
welding, painting, electrical, woodworking,
carpentry. Yeah. I don't know what facility maintenance they have too.
Yeah.
And advanced fire and natural resources. And then if you graduate your trade, like when you make it, and they give you a bump in pay, like I don't know how much, but like enough money to set you up to get an apartment and get you on your feet before you get your first paycheck. So like they send you out the door with a pocket full of money to help you start your career, man. It's so cool. And a lot of the fire folks, are doing like natural resources and fire. They were saving money as they went. And then when they got enough money to get their car, when they're getting close to graduation, then usually like a counselor or someone would go help them get a car, which is like so awesome.
That's wild.
Really helping them under their feet. Yeah. Like not helping buy it, or not like put money towards it, but like take them to go look at it and
understand what an APR is,
Yeah, exactly, man. And help them get something that's not going to fail them, you know, and get them across the country, you know.
I wish I had had some of those classes growing up. I mean, for all the times I've needed to know why equals what, you know, it's still, to me, Y is a letter. It represents a sound.
Yeah.
It does not equal a number.
Yeah.
No matter how you move it, it's not going to make a number.
Dude.
I spent so many nights crying at the kitchen table with my mom trying to explain algebra to me.
Yeah. trying to get you do some slope.
I'm going to be a history major.
Yeah, I don't want to do math. I was in the same boat, man. Dude, and I even did like pretty well in physics 1 and 2, but I could never do it again. You know, it's just like got my brain to work in the moment. But yeah, Elite Four, dude, I'm so pumped to see it. Like, well, just the veteran stuff, just to get to a national level, man. And because there's such a big gap, you know, like we still got folks overseas, and we got so many people enlisted. And what do you do after, you know, like what's the minimum? It's 2 years you can sign up for? Or is it 4?
It used to be 2.
Yeah.
And I think most of them go 4.
Yeah. So like,
but
I mean, the 4, like especially 4 is a good time period. That's you know, 4 years, like it used to be what a bachelor degree was, and then it's like you start a career, so it's like you put in 4 years of your life doing military, and then what, you know? So like having this bridge, and maybe you don't do fire, but it could open up some other doors too.
Absolutely.
You know?
I mean, that's what it became for me, was an opportunity to, you know, I couldn't afford to not work during the wintertime.
Yeah.
So, you know, being on a fire crew led to working with Dan, and in the meantime working as a it's been a while.
Yeah, no worries. Shake the cobwebs off a little bit.
I wasn't like a training coordinator for Northern Region University.
Oh, yeah,
I did that for a couple of winters.
Oh, cool.
Executive assistant for the Bitterroot.
Yeah.
And working with Trapper Creek Job Corps and going over there and, you know, inventorying their fire cache. And, you know, that turned into more of a mentor thing, which was really neat to sit down with the students and like, I need to go count sleeping bags. However, this person is having a crisis, and we need to sit down and go big brother, you know?
And totally. That's what a lot of them need, man.
It was really neat, you know?
Yeah. Not a lot of them, but, you know, a few of them need that, like,
we all do.
Yeah, exactly. We all have mentors, right? You know, like throughout our lives, and, you know, typically it's in the force, or it seems like a supervisor or a boss, or, you know, someone who's maybe even a peer that you just, like, has been down the road you're going on, and
for
you know, just to have someone to be like, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah,
like, that's like, huge.
Yeah, you screwed that up, but I've seen it get screwed up way worse.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Everybody burns up a Mark III from time to time, you know, like not a big deal, you know. Man, that Lola Peak fire, man, like they kept sending non-mixed gas, but that was marked mixed. Whew, so many Mark IIIs got burned up on that one.
Oops.
Yeah. That's a big whoops. But yeah, dude, and then so what you're doing, I know you can only talk a little bit about it, but it's
just there's so much to know, and I don't know a lot.
Yeah, because I mean, how long have you even been at it? Just
about a month now.
Jesus, I was thinking a couple, but I knew it was recent.
And it's the USDA's rural development, and so working with basically grants and loan programs and helping small rural businesses.
Cool.
You know, there's so many different kinds of programs that the government is there to kind of help, you know, where they can. And it's been fascinating. The people I work with are fantastic. They are some of the smartest individuals I have ever met. And I mean, they really, it's a brand new language. So
really?
All of the different acronyms, it's rural business and cooperative services. So that's kind of who we work with, just rural businesses and co-ops. And the business acumen is this whole new side of my brain that I'm trying to figure out how to use. And it's been really, really fascinating.
I bet,
and
dude.
Get to meet people and get out there, you know, spent a couple of days over at the Montana Farm Bureau conference, that kind of thing. Like, that's pretty neat. It's definitely not something that I would have expected.
Yeah.
Like 2 years ago, if you'd said, hey, this is what you're going to be doing and you're going to really like it, I would have been like, how do I get there from here?
Yeah, I am. And how does this work?
Because I mean, I loved working at Dispatch. The people I was working with were fantastic. But it's a nice new thing. There's a book out there. My brother had me read it. It's called Range. And take, for example, who's the better athlete, Roger Federer or Tiger Woods?
Ooh, yeah.
So Tiger was raised solely training to be a golfer.
Yeah.
Roger Federer, he was a wrestler. Played volleyball, I think, and soccer. And then he transitioned over into, I think it was Federer, tennis.
Yeah.
And became a, champion tennis player.
Yeah, one of the best in the world.
And the whole premise of the book is, we have people with a wide variety of backgrounds, and there's value to that.
Yeah.
So if you get a resume that says this guy was a Tiddlywinks champion and a professional bull rider and, an astronaut, well, that guy's pretty well-rounded compared to the one guy who, he went to school for 10 years, solely focusing on becoming a biologist his whole life. But there's still value to that guy who's kind of gone around to a lot of different things.
Yeah,
and
especially like risen to that level. Like you said, the biologist, it's awesome, and that's, especially if they're going into biology, like that's the person you want.
Right.
But like it also, a person who doesn't have the biology, but has all these other, and like at the top of their field in all these other areas, like in multiple areas, like that's, like you said, there's a lot to that too, man. Like
exactly, and I think there's a lot of value to that, especially in worlds where outside the box thinking, coming up with solutions to unique and dynamic concerns or issues is really kind of cool, because I mean, like we were talking about, you got those people up in Troy or Libby that, they've grown up on a ranch. Yeah. So they're probably going to know how to change the oil in their lawnmower a lot better than somebody like me who had a 8-foot mud pit in his townhouse backyard growing up,
Didn't have to worry about that. Yeah. Just weren't exposed to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. And like, man, I was thinking, I got stuck thinking about you playing in a mud pit. Totally skipped my brain there for a minute. But yeah, I was thinking about that too. Oh, what I was thinking, I've actually talked about this a lot this summer, because like the transition for us outside of, I feel like I'm just not getting the feedback on this like normal, but like us outside of fire folks, and we're not even in, I think a lot of people know about this, but technically we're not firefighters. We're forestry technicians. And so that's been kind of an issue for all of us. But so forestry technician, pretty broad stroke vocabulary, word, definition, I guess, right?
Right.
Like forestry technician, that doesn't really point you in one direction. And then we do jack of all trades. We do. We do all, yeah. We,
not while I'm holding coffee.
Yeah, exactly. My bad. So we have a wide range, man. Yeah, and we do all these different fuels. We help out with trails and like all the stuff you listed earlier, and help out with timber and thinning, whatever, and fire. We have all these things that we do. But then if you go to get a job in trails, and range in
you're not in the series.
Yep, you're not in the series. So even though you do have time in that doing that job, but you don't have the series, so you get booted. And it's like, especially for guys like us, who's like, I put in like 17 years in the fire world. It's like, I got a long time in there,
sure.
So.
And that's nothing to scoff at. I mean, that's significant time.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm ready for, like you, man, like the transition, like you're saying, to get into something where I get more family life. I'm not beating my body as much,
Sure.
I'm not going to the field as much, because like that going to the field will really beat you down, after a while. And
side hilling, man.
Yeah, it's side hill. Whew, man, yeah, I did a lot of that this year, and I still like getting out there, but like, if I could like lower the reps a little bit, like I think my body would like me more. And
Sula was the first place I ever went to that the mountains didn't stop going up.
Yeah, Sula's a weird country like that.
That Rimal Hill, man. That
very deceptive. You get to that false summit, man. And you're like, I'm not there.
I just got bad tingles.
Yeah, just got a little shiver.
Yeah,
man.
Waiting for Scott to poke his head out and be like, "Hey,
yeah.
You're not at the top yet." I know.
Yeah, I know. I'm just taking a break and thinking about my life for a minute. But yeah, man, like, so it's good that you got out, and that's one thing I think that was really cool about Dispatch and the Bitterroot is that like everybody was kind of like in the same way, like we all had fire experience, and everyone was like, this is cool and I like what we have, but like, we all put in our time, and it's like kind of ready for something else, man.
Yeah. And I think that was a a great group of people to be around, making that transition.
Yeah.
Because they were very supportive and like, go do what's best for you and what's going to make you feel fulfilled. And I think you get people around you like that, you really got to appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's a rare thing to have in any line of work that I've ever been in.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had the supervisor that was less than friendly, you know, and being able to kind of pick that out and be like, all right, I can learn a lesson from this. Maybe I don't want to be like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all that.
Yeah. Wow, I just got like way more clarity in my headphones. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Oh, that was weird.
I hope I didn't screw something up.
No, I think it's a new. I think it's like this new chord. Oh, that was super weird though. But that's like, this is what I was used to earlier when I was using these. So like for it to be this clear all of a sudden, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just working on the kinks with these guys. Almost brand new.
I can hear my breathing.
Yeah, geez, I can hear your thoughts.
Whoa.
That's how good this is.
And for the next 2 hours, it's going to be a silent podcast.
Yeah, just be staring and just listening to each other.
Oh, those cheekbones, man.
Oh, God, you stop. But yeah, like that.
For those listeners out there that don't know, this man has beautiful cheekbones.
Probably.
Excellent facial structure.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's just the dark light that really brings him out. That's why, like in dispatch and stuff, you can kind of see it from across the room. But
man.
I'm best in dark lighting. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to say. I look best when it's dark.
My dad always used to say I had a face for radio, and that's why I was in dispatch.
Yeah, see, it worked out, man. See, yeah, he knew he had a future.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
that's all that matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, like, and it's wild to see that like dispatch is pretty much all moved on at this point, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah. I haven't been back over there since I went up to Missoula, working with RBCS. But
yeah, so your main office out of Missoula then?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
It's where the office is, but the job has been really cool in like, you know, go out and meet people. You know, don't be shy. Go like talk to various people of all sorts of backgrounds. And so I really just go and like, tell me about what you do, because I want to work with you. I just don't fully know what you can do. Yeah. So, you know, it's been a steep learning curve.
I bet, dude. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to touch on earlier, man. I know we're kind of like all over the board. I think.
No worries.
Yeah, I think it partly prednisone, partly the caffeine, but you know, like that, like neuroplasticity. You know, like being the
big word.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, I mean, I have a few of those hidden once when I bring them out when I want to sound fancy. But yeah, so that neuroplasticity and having that like flexibility in your brain, right, and like doing something new. You know, like they talk about like hockey being such a good one, because if you did like field sports like football, track, soccer, baseball, you know, like they're all kind of similar, you know, but like hockey, you're on skates, you're using a stick, you know, like
rubber belly, pat your head, sing ABCs backwards. I mean,
yeah, totally, man. A little different beast.
Hockey's such an awesome sport.
It is, man. So like, where like talking to you, you know, you going from like this position, this position, man, it's got to be really healthy for your brain, you know, like.
I would hope so. Some days it doesn't feel like it, especially with my toddler running around.
Oh yeah, those days hurt.
But I think there's a value to it, you know. And I think if I was always told when you're looking at a resume, back in like ye olden days when I was going through school and trying to figure out my path in life, it was always very much like, you know, you don't want to have a resume that's all over the place. You definitely want to have like show progression. Yeah. And for me, my resume is all over the place. I don't have any say in it, and I'm loving it, man. It's really cool. Yeah. To have the opportunity to, you know, go do dirt work and then come back and, you know, look at CFRs and reading legalese. Yeah,
totally, man. And like being part of the Forest Service, you know, not to cut you off, but
no, you're fine.
Kind of tack on what you're saying is like, you know, being part of the Forest Service, it's a huge organization. So like you have those options. A little bit harder being kind of pigeonholed in the fire world, but like once you can get that detail or something, you know, get like show that proof, then it's like, oh man, you know, I did this and then I can do this. Or it's just like another little bump in your resume to be like, oh yeah, this guy's got some value. It's not just a Pulaski motor, you know. It's like, like that administrative assistant to the forest soup. Like it's a pretty big deal, you know?
Well, it's just really neat to. I think that's like you said, get pigeonholed, and I never knew what the forest. Sorry,
I know
I talk with my hands.
Resonates well.
I never really knew what the Forest Service did by just working in fire.
Yeah.
And there's so many interesting people out there, and I think it's really imperative that, you know, those type 2 first-year guys and gals, they go and they meet with people that are not in their lane. Because, I mean, we were lucky down at Sula. We had Tanya Neidhart, who was our fuels tech at the time. And she was doing everything from helibase managing to, like, showing us the little microwave deal to see how dry the wood is, you know, fuel moisture checks and all that. And she'd come down and talk to us about the ERCs and things like that, and just mind-melting information. That then, when I went to dispatch and I'm reading the weather, I understand it now a little bit better. And
like the RHs and the ERCs.
Yeah. Yep. So for all these first-year folks, like, one thing I tell my vets when I talk to them is, go, like, be the quintessential curious guy.
Yeah.
You know?
And ask the questions. And real quick, I got to go over ERC. So ERC stands for Energy Release Component of a Fuel. So ERCs of, like, I don't know, the wood in the forest, the grass, all that good stuff. And the hotter, drier, the higher the ERCs. And that's how you can kind of depict, actually, that's how they can depict is whether you're going to have, like, a large fire event or a large fire day, potential for large fire days with the ERCs and then the RHs as well. So important stuff to know. And as you're a first year guy like me, I was like, there's so many acronyms, like there's alphabet soup getting thrown at me, like ERCs, like I just show me where to put this tool, you know, like polish this thing. And, you know, I
remember going to your first fire too, you know, you're trying to get all your gear ready and make sure everything is clipped right and slung right. Yeah. And then, you know, by the end of the season, you're just like throwing the pack on and going, you know, you just kind of got to fall into the position a little bit. But yeah, the more questions you can ask, the more interpersonal relationships you can build with people. I think that's massively huge. Yeah,
I think so too. And you know, a huge help, like you're just talking about Cottrell, like, and every time I've been on fire with him too, he's like, he's going to say hey to everybody, you know, like he's friendly to everybody, you know, and he's building relationships all the time, man. Like, and whether he sees that person again ever, it doesn't matter, you know, he's a friendly guy, and he's mostly doing it just to help build the whole organization. And it shows with Lead Forward, you know, and it's weird this podcast is kind of becoming about Dan, but, you know, like, he's just a great example of, like,
genuine person,
and just a good person to emulate, you know, like, and kind of do the same thing. And I think that, you know, transfers to life in general, where it's like, you know, like, you're tired or whatever, you know, like, it's, you know, say hi to that person, or, you know, be friendly to the store clerk or whoever you might run into, you know, and, like, be courteous, you know, then that goes a long way, you know? Yeah,
absolutely. When I was in the Marines, I used to run all the time. That was, like, my thing. I loved running, and go home on Christmas leave or something like that, and I would run. I lived in a city, so I could run from my house to, like, Washington, D.C. I put in, like, a 14, 15-mile day and just go, you know. There was one day I'm running, realized I haven't eaten anything all day. I'm starting to slow down. There's a guy sitting outside of a McDonald's, and he's asking for change, and I was like, hey, man, I can't give you money, but I'll go get you a meal. And what did he was like, can I get a chicken something or other? Oh, I can't remember what it was called, but I was like, do they sell those? What is that? And just because I stopped and asked this guy if I could buy him some food, I learned about this brand new chicken sandwich at McDonald's I'd never had before.
Get yourself a little treat.
Yeah, it was tasty.
Yeah. See, just little things like that, man. You never know what you find. You know, just about being friendly.
Yeah, exactly.
Little things in life, man. Like, man, that DC, like, had to be amazing around, like, the spring with all those blossoms, right? The cherry blossoms.
Oh, dude, the cherry blossoms. Yeah. I never got to get out there as much as I would like, but those things are only blossomed for, like, a week or two, I think. They don't, short, huh? Yeah, they don't last very long, if I recall. Man, but
yeah, because I was you know, I've seen the pictures of them, and I've always heard that they're just great things. Like, do you know Derek Harbour? Yeah. So like his dad was chief for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, Tom Harbor. Yeah, I got to meet him a few times. Great
Did you
guy.
really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it was great, man. And he his office was there in DC, so Derek spent a lot of time there, and he was telling me just how amazing like the place is. It's busy, he said, but like it's the blossoms are awesome and the architecture is amazing and the history. It's like it's a cool place. It's just a little busy. But
that I think the history around it definitely drove my scholastic career, because you're always around stuff and you're just constantly you're learning new stories, and it's really kind of neat when you're out there, because I mean you drive past Ford's Theater a million times and it's like, really? That's Lincoln got shot there, cool. Like you don't even appreciate it, and then you leave and you come back and you're like, man, there's a lot going on here.
Wow.
And
man.
so it's a neat place. It's a very green city, which I always appreciated. No buildings can be taller than the Washington Monument.
Oh,
so
that's
it's
cool.
not like the New York, burying you under steel and
Dude, I've never been in New York, but I've been like downtown Chicago, and that was a weird claustrophobic feeling. Like seeing, like you said, as tall as the sky, skyscrapers all around you, and only being able to see like down that road.
Yeah.
That was a weird feeling for me, man.
I bet that's a weird experience for you.
Yeah, especially growing up in Whitehall, like wide open places, and then I just all of a sudden like get out of I don't know if I was like in a cab or something, but I just like got out by like that chrome bean thing, like there's been a few movies, I think. Looks like a little bean and it's like chrome. And so I got out by that thing and I was like looking around. I was like, holy cow, this is wild.
Yeah. I bet.
I was feeling pretty restless.
Yeah. Actually, one really cool snippet was we were testing out the horse trailer prior to coming out to Montana.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's this massive thing, so we're trying to figure out the best loading practices and,
Yeah, how long are we talking?
I want to say it was a 40-foot box for the trailer. And I think there was one point where we were passing a 53-foot semi, and I started laughing because I was like, we're the same length as this thing.
Dude, that's a load.
We had a dually that we were pulling it with, so it drove great. But so we were getting ready to go, just doing a quick test run, and so we actually went out to the battlefield at Bull Run with our horses.
Dude.
And we got to ride our horses at the battlefield. And, I mean, it was such a neat experience. But then there was some other random person, and she happened to be like a lieutenant colonel of Marines or something like that. And she was like, I love history, and I'm studying this for like a thesis or something like that. Do you guys want me to ride around with you? And I can kind of show you where different parts of the battle took place and stuff.
Dude.
So we had like a private tour on horseback around a Civil War battlefield, and it's just really cool. I mean, like that was just one of those surreal moments, and it was all just stemmed from saying hi to some random stranger.
Yeah, man, that's kind of cool. We were just talking about just like those connections that you just like just by being friendly and courteous. Man, that's super cool. I didn't know you could just like ride your horse around Bull Run battlefield.
Certain parts.
That's cool, man.
Yeah,
probably a good way to see it. Is it massive?
It's huge. Yeah.
Never been. And that kind of country, there's all kinds of battlefields around there, isn't there?
Yeah, you can pretty much throw a rock and hit a battlefield.
Some kind of memorial or
And my wife was from Culpeper, Virginia, so she's kind of out in the sticks there, and that's where it all happened. I mean, all of the major movements, like every couple miles, there's a historical marker on the side of roads, and it's just like, this is where Corporal whoever, made his tea on the day before this battle, or something like that. So there's just all these random historical markers. It's kind of neat. Driving down 93 and you see all of the Lewis and Clark Trail stuff.
Yeah,
very similar to that.
Wow, that's super cool, man.
It's a neat area. It really is.
Yeah, and I like I was kind of trying to get more into Civil War history, because I was also, when I first went to school, was going into college, was going to history courses, and was thinking about just being a history teacher and PE teacher in high school. And the one thing I was really trying to get into more is like Civil War history, you know. So, man, I think me and you probably got that in common. Cause like I was looking at the ironclads and the submarines, and then I didn't realize there were so many submarines, because you only really hear about the Hunley, and then there was the North Head, one that they were trying to use, and then
The turtle.
the turtle. Yeah, and then they had the alligator is the one that got lost at sea.
Yeah.
They were dragging it down south to go for a battle, and got in a bad storm, and they had to cut it loose because it was going to sink the ship that was towing it.
Yeah.
And no one was on the thing, so it just got set adrift. And there was recently, I mean, like 10 years probably, there was another effort to try to discover where it might have drifted off to and see if they could recover it.
Dude, that's wild.
Yeah, because especially after they found the Hunley, they were like, oh, but man, we need to. Was it SS Hunley? Is that what it is?
I think so.
Right?
Yeah.
Southern.
CSS. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, probably CSS, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
CSS Hunley. Yeah, the Southern submarine that killed probably more of its own people than it did the other side.
Yeah. Not a good time to be on a boat like that.
No.
So I went for a year at Christopher Newport University. I had gone to Penn State Altoona branch, and then went to CNU for a year, and then back up to Penn State, which is where I finally graduated. But while I was down there, they have the Monitor Merrimack Museum, and I had no clue what a ironclad was, but the history there is really fascinating, man. It's really cool. So I'm with you on the boats. I like the ships.
Yeah, totally, man. Like, I think the Monitor is like no longer, and the Merrimack is still around. I don't know.
I couldn't even tell you anymore.
Yeah, me either.
This
like,
is so off the cuff.
yeah, totally, man. And that's why I kind of was like, I knew this would kind of like travel this podcast, and a lot of them are kind of the same way, because like when I find something I'm interested in, I'm like, oh man, I want to ask more questions. And and it, like you said, being in that part of the world, growing up there, man, it's so much history.
It really is. So how many podcasts have you done?
Shoot, let me think. So I think I released KBs this week, and I'm on a every 2 week schedule, just because like with work, and especially in the winter, it's a little harder, because like once it's warmer, it'll be a little easier to take this mobile and get more podcasts. But like a 2 week schedule, and so I think this will be 16. So I think 14 was KBs. I have Allie from Hilltop Microgreens. She was already on, and so I've got that one just waiting in the queue. I'll release in 2 weeks, and then August was today, and then 15, right? Or no, this will be 17, I think. So yeah, I think KB was 14, Allie's 15, August is 16, 17. So yeah, pretty pumped, dude, because like, man, 20 felt like a gigantic number when I was first starting out, and I was like, I figured I'd be doing like one a month maybe, and then pretty much just interviewing the same person or myself,
Yeah,
so,
sure.
It's pretty wild, man.
That's awesome, man. That's great.
Yeah.
You just started this thing up last summer?
Officially, I'm trying to think. I sat on the first podcast for like a year or two, because I was like, I don't know, like, and
I remember our conversations in dispatch. Like, do you think this would be? I think it is, man. I think it's a really neat avenue to see and talk to people from all sorts of walks of life. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, and that's what I'm pushing for, man. Like having you on too, like your adventures. I mean, like the lifestyle, like, you meet this special lady in your life, and she's like shows you a picture, and then you guys get the biggest horse trail in the world. And you travel across the country in it, like that's a super cool story, man. And then like you guys just kind of bebop up and down the Bitterroot for a little bit until you guys find your home. And
well, I mean, shoot, we were so lucky to have the people in our lives that we do. So the horses, when we moved out here, they had 10 acres to run and play on, running water, electricity. Meanwhile, my wife and I are just, camping.
Yeah.
But the people that took us in when we moved out here were actually, we were boarding our horses in Virginia, and the wife of the family that we were boarding them with owns her own hair salon.
Oh.
And I think it's Washington, Virginia, which they call it Little Washington, but really quaint little town. And so she's cutting this guy's hair, and he says, well, this is my last haircut. And she said, well, where are you moving to? He said, oh, Victor, Montana. And she's like, why is everybody moving out to Western Montana? And I know there's a lot of people out here that feel the same way. But, so she got us in touch with him, and he was like, he and his wife were both just like, if you guys promise not to abandon your horses, and you don't mind if we feed them carrots every now and again, you can just keep them on our property. And it was like, well, absolutely. And now they become like surrogate parents to us. I mean, we love them, and they're fantastic. They've always been there for us and all that kind of stuff. And, just other people, when we first moved here, we're struggling to find work and bouncing around and all that. And obviously one of the 5 dogs gets a nice cut. And so we take it into a vet, and that vet has become a really close family friend of ours as well. And basically they were like, well, if you guys want some part-time work, you guys could come in and help us with boarding on the weekends and stuff. And so I'm like, yeah, whatever it takes, And so, my wife has been super flexible with everything and supportive of everything, with fire and the crazy hours and all that kind of stuff. And now we got our little dude running around, and, he's 3 years old, and, we're just extremely lucky to have what we have.
Yeah.
So,
and just that,
it's humbling.
Yeah, totally it is, man. And having that view of it, right? Like, not just being like, some people I think when they start getting traction, their ego almost builds, and they like, oh, we deserve this, instead of being like, man, I'm thankful and humble every day and just blessed that it's like working out this way.
Yeah, for sure.
But
for sure,
you guys are working for it, man, and like taking opportunities where some people might not. Because they're like, well, I mean. Yeah, I could come help, in a vet clinic, but like I'm really holding out for that big job. And if you hold out for that big job, you might be holding out forever.
Right. Yeah.
So that was good on you guys having that right mindset.
We hit the ground running here. I mean, she started working up in Missoula, and I was working at Cabela's and part-time as a janitor, just trying to make ends meet. And that was really where I actually was at the Western Montana Fair in 2015, and there was a lady working a women in wildland firefighting booth from the Forest Service.
Oh, really?
And I walked up to her. I was like, look, I have a college degree. I'm a captain of Marines. I'm a freaking Eagle Scout. What more do you people need to get work? And she was like, maybe you should swing by my office. And so I went to her office on Monday, and she sat me down with my resume and was like, well, this is all completely trash. You need to rewrite everything. And then we were...
Because the resume wasn't the Forest Service style, right?
Right, yeah.
It was like a business, like...
It was the...
rest of the world, the rest of the nation, I guess, uses, besides the Forest Service.
This is a one-page resume? No, you need to have like 14.
I knew what you did 3 years ago on a Tuesday. Like, it's like if it was important, like...
Yeah.
Every little thing has got to be written in there,
Absolutely. And I think a lot of the transitioning out of the Marine Corps, they really, out of the military, they say, you get this piece of paper, it's your DD-214, and this is your golden ticket. You can use this in every walk of life, and people are going to just jump at it. And this is special.
Yeah.
When in reality, for government jobs, you need to submit a DD-214 and an SF-15 if you have a disability, and you also need to throw in like your service benefits and verification. It's a letter of benefits and service verification letter from the VA.
Jeez.
And if you don't submit one of those, then the whole thing could get wiped out, and you're not going to get the job.
Yeah, just by leaving one document out, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's really trying to understand all of the different forms and everything like that. And, speaking with this lady at the regional office, and then, excuse me, she eventually put me in touch with a guy named Tristan Persico, who I think he works with the CIO now. But, he was working as a administrative type at the regional office, and he's an Air Force veteran, and he's a very direct person. And so I would take my resume over to his office, and he would be like, no, this still looks trash. Like, you still need to fix all this. This is wrong. You're not going to get hired ever if you keep typing like this.
And brutal honesty.
Yeah, and I appreciate that because I need it. And
yeah, same.
Eventually he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, when I met him, I had called him. A coworker at Cabela's said, you need to talk to this guy. He's like a veteran liaison for the Forest Service. He can help you, get in. And I called him, and I didn't hear back from him for 2 weeks. And one day I walked into Cabela's, and there's a guy in a pickle suit, but it looked like the Cabela's shirt, and he had this cart full of stuff. And I was like, oh, hey, man, you new here? And he turned around, his name tag was there, and I was like, you never called me back.
Yeah, listen here.
And he was like, man, the second I walked in here, I remembered I had a voicemail from somebody working at Cabela's, and I figured somebody was going to call me out. And I was like, "You darn right, I'm going to call you out, and you're going to stand right in this aisle. I'm going to go out to my car, get my resume, and hand it to you." And he's like, "You have your resume in your car?" I was like, "Yeah, I got my resume in my car. I want to work for you."
Boy Scout. Always be prepared. You know?
There you go.
Yeah.
And so he basically took me under his wing, explained to me how to fix stuff that was messed up, and then he's like, "I'm going to drive you over to Dan's office right now. He's free. We're going to go sit down with him and talk to him."
Oh, huge.
And so, like, if it wasn't for people taking their time to help me out, then I never would have been in the position where now I can go help out vets and, you know, just try to put people on the right path. I've talked with guys that say, you know, every time I smell smoke, I go back to Iraq in 2006. And it's like, okay, well, let's maybe not put you in fire. Let's maybe put you in trails.
Yeah.
Get people that, there's one guy, he was coming out of, I want to say, Oregon State University, and like, "Hey man, I'm an engineer, and what kind of jobs can we get in the Forest Service?" And it's like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And right about that time, they were saying, "Hey, for Lead Forward, for Region 1, we want you guys to focus on doing both fire and non-fire." And
oh, nice.
so I drove down to the Bitterroot supervisor's office, walked in, and Dixie was sitting there, and I didn't know who Dixie was at the time. She's our front desk lady, and she's a fantastic
Wonderful.
human being.
Yeah, just amazing.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dixie.
Yeah, shout out to Dixie, man. Nothing would get done without her.
Yeah.
So I walked in, and I said, "Hi, I actually work for the Forest Service. I just need to learn about what programs there are that are not fire." And she was like, "Oh, well, Cole's in his office." So Cole Main came out, and he was like, "How does this program work?" And so then we started getting people into fisheries jobs, all sorts. And again, like, I don't know what Mike Jacober does down on the West Fork Ranger District, but boy, howdy if I didn't give Mike a call and say, "So what kind of people do you look for?" You know, that kind of thing. 'Cause the program doesn't work if it's not a good fit. And so we always make sure that there's good communication going on between the applicant and the supervisor. And, you know, if the applicant says, "No, I can't work for that person," or if the supervisor says, that guy's not got the right mindset, especially when we look at shot crews, things like that. You know, there's always, every crew has such its own personality.
Yeah,
you know,
and chemistry and all that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you definitely, there's always the 10% that don't work out, but we really try to make sure that there's a good fit.
Yeah, that's smart, man. Especially because then both players are happy. You're going to get a better product, you know, out of both people, right? Like the vet going in is going to get a little more better mentorship, have a little better handle of the job, and the communication's going to be better. And then the boss, you know, the supervisor hiring is going to be like, "I got a good product here," and more faith in the person they're putting to work, and probably also like do a better job of mentoring them into their new position. You know,
For sure. Yeah.
Because they like being around, like the mindset and the way they communicate. Because like I said, just like, sometimes it's a communication barrier. Like if you grow up in like Boston or, you know, like, you know, Philly or something where it's a little bit more like abrupt, you know, that could rub someone a little bit wrong. And then, you know, I'm probably vice versa, right? Like if I go over there and I'm like just like too polite and too nice, they're like, I don't like this guy.
That is a thing. I never realized how much of a thing that was. Like, you know, there is such a thing as too nice.
Yeah, especially more like in a rough society, you know, like it's probably not like valued as much, and like, you know, you don't have time for it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, tell me what you want, let's do this.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Like, versus like, you know, all the pleasantries, you know, it's like I don't need that right now, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm just guessing. I've never been there, so maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Oh, I mean, plenty of nice people in Boston.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yes. I don't want to like. I don't like broad spectrum that they're all just like mean and grumpy, but. It just like the only thing that popped in my head that was like more like kind of that like kind of abrupt and kind of quick.
For sure. Yeah.
Talking
totally.
a little bit more versus, you know, like a slower small town, you know, like rural
Whitehall.
Montana. Yeah, Whitehall. Yeah, for me, you know.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I never really thought about what it would be like to come from one of these rural towns and go to a place like Chicago. That I parallel parked that dually in Chicago downtown.
Did you really?
Oh, one of the most proud moments of my life.
It's a boss move, dude.
My wife was like, that's really kind of cool. I was like,
Yeah, yeah, dude. I'd be holding that chip on my shoulder forever, man. Like that's.
I'm just gonna pull that one out.
Yeah, count it, dude. Yeah, man. Just the hips on a dually, man. You know, like that's hard to park anywhere. You know, and especially be able to parallel park in Chicago.
Yeah, that was one of the prouder moments of my life.
Oh, that was pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
I pulled a trailer through Chicago one time, and that was.
Yeah, we specifically we test drove the dually, and that's why we were in Chicago. We have family in Wisconsin, so we were going up to EAA's Oshkosh Air Show, and so we were just doing a road trip up there the summer before we left to come out here. And when we hooked up, it was like, we are gonna go way south.
Yeah, smart.
We
man.
are not going through.
Yeah, and all around Chicago, I mean, like I don't know, like the mileage, but like I don't know, maybe like 45 minutes, like.
Sure.
There's a circle around Chicago is like rural, you know, it's like farmland and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it's an hour. I don't know. It's sprawling, right? But you know, it's like an hour and a half, maybe, you know, 45 minutes, whatever the timeline is. It's like you wouldn't even know like Chicago exists, really.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. And yeah, I don't know. The trip out here was an adventure in itself. Like
Dude, I bet.
blew 2 tires in Kentucky. Great place to break down in a horse trailer, by the way.
Yeah, horse country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They know what to do.
Yep.
Had to replace all 4 brakes in Menominee, Wisconsin. And had to re-jerry rig the brake line coming into Huntley, Montana.
Oh, man.
It's like every time I'd be sleeping, my wife just smacked me on the shoulder.
Really?
Ed, something's happening. It's like, what now?
Yeah, exactly. Like coming out of a fog asleep, like, oh.
And like in North Dakota, it's not so bad if you don't have trailer brakes because, I mean, during the summertime, let me caveat all that.
Yep.
And not windy. But it's like I've heard that there's these kind of big hills up ahead. We might want to just get it looked at.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, glad we did. Cause
yeah, getting the Rockies, you know, like couple passes between us and there, you know, like
some steep hills.
Yeah, holy cow. Man, that's wild. It's just kind of probably like a timing thing, right? Like miles and timing and all that stuff just ready to go.
Well, the joke in DC is it's 30 minutes to anywhere, but it could take you 6 hours to get there. And that's just traffic. I mean, it's like 6-lane highways and beltways and on-ramps and off-ramps. And it's a great place to learn how to drive. I
bet, man. You probably get real good.
Especially with your mom terrified that you're going to stall out your 91 Celica, so she's always on the e-brake.
Oh, really? Wow. That's wild, man. I never thought about it. That's a good idea, though, huh? Man. Just a little safety. Instead of having like the pedal like a driver's ed teacher would have,
right,
she'd be using that.
Except when I'm trying to go and
give it the
she's
gas.
still white knuckling on the e-brake. I'm like, can you please put that down?
No. I'm trying to go.
Granted, that lady, she's a saint.
Oh, I bet, man. Jeez, like learn to drive a stick, you know, manual transmission in that country. Whew. Yeah, you'll get real good, real quick.
Real quick.
Or you'll be dead.
Went to the movies one time in 4 inches of snow, and she's like, you're taking the manual, and you're taking the Celica. It's like, I wouldn't want to drive the Celica in too much rain. Like, it's a fun car, but...
Yeah. What year was it?
91.
91? Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Those are cool.
Little flip-up lights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a girl I knew it when she was like a senior. I was a freshman, and she had one that was like this kind of orangey color. It was super cool.
Nice.
Yeah. I got to ride in it. I was like, man, felt super cool. A freshman, you know? Cooler than I actually was.
Yeah.
There's, you guys don't have the car still, do you?
No.
Damn.
No.
Yeah. Be a little, I don't know if, I don't know if anyone's really doing anything with the 91 Celica, like, as in, like, you know, performance-wise or, like, fixing them up, but I thought they were cool.
Yeah, I thought they were cool, too.
Yeah, man.
Pretty rad.
Especially learning to drive there. Holy cow, dude.
Yeah.
And then, so you guys made it out to Montana. No more problems after North Dakota, or?
I mean, lots of problems, but
nothing really that stood out.
Yeah, I mean the dually ended up dying at about 45,000 miles.
Oh,
it was
total?
Some computer chip, the output speed shaft sensor, started to go, and so I took it in like 7 times in a year, and it was like $100 a pop, and they're like, yeah, you just had to replace your sensor.
Oh, and they just had,
and I just got so fed up with it, so I sold it back for what was owed on it, and they were like, well, do you want to take a look at some other trucks? And I was like, no, I'm going to go buy the oldest truck that I can. I want to be able to look through the engine block, see the ground, have like spots where I can put tools and like no computers. So I
Yeah.
went out and I bought a 76 F-150.
Oh,
It's
nice.
orange with white stripes, and
Yeah.
that thing lasted me through the 2017 fire season. I'd basically just filled up the bed with all of the different kinds of liquids that need to go into an engine.
Yeah. All the fluids.
And there was basically I'd go for 2 weeks, come home, top it all off, and then that
Keep
puppy would
cruising.
start purring. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
that
awesome,
thing.
man. Yeah, you still got that thing. huh?
Yeah, I do.
That's awesome. I
It's-
remember we were talking about it a little bit.
It's got a brand new starter sitting in the front seat. It's got a new radiator sitting in the front seat. Just got to have some time to put it together.
Oh,
So-
dude, I know this. Yeah, I know the because me and you were talking about that. Like, I've got some of it put together, but like the cap and rotor and all the
Yeah.
new wires and plugs and the what was it? What else was it? God dang it. Points for the cap and rotor and like
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so like all that stuff is like you said, it's sitting on the front seat of my Land Cruiser. You know, like I just haven't had time to work with it, and it's still at my folks' place. So whenever I thought because last year we had fall that just like never ended, man. You know, like
Yeah.
the Indian summer, and we've had that for a while now. So I was like, all right, like fire season will end, and then it'll be like this kind of mild weather, and then I'll get some time to go back to Whitehall. And I guess I was kind of sidetracked with this thing because I was really like working hard to get this thing over here. So Land Cruiser got put in the back burner, but I was like, I'm gonna go over, get the Land Cruiser, bring it back, and then I'll be able to like keep working on it and stuff,
Yeah.
and get it the way I want it to go. And
Oh, last season would not end.
dude, last season would not end, and then this season like finally ended, and then it was winter. Like
Yeah.
the next day.
And it's snowing.
Yeah, I was like, oh god. So like, and I don't have like an indoor shop to work on it. Like, and
Yeah, that's huge.
yeah, so
Having
like,
some building around you while you're working on it is so much nicer.
and the wind is always howling in Whitehall, so like, like it makes the cold even more cold,
Yeah.
So like, I haven't had a chance to get back there and mess with it, and like the cap and rotor are plastic, so it's like I don't want to put the stress, under the cold of the plastic, but yeah, those projects, man. And I think you become a dad and stuff, and that also like takes some time, and
Yeah.
but
Like you say, wrestling your peanut is
yeah,
it's a fun time, but
it
man,
is.
like we were putting up Christmas decorations today, and for all the times I said no,
Yeah,
like, stop doing that. That ball's gonna break. It's gonna be owie.
yeah.
Man.
That's so funny, man, because everyone's like the same language, like all of his parents, like because between like you and a bunch of my other buddies, everyone's got like a brand new baby to like 3, and I think one of my nephew's 4 or 5 now, so like I guess
Nice.
that range,
Yeah.
So but it's all like similar language, like no, stop it, you're gonna hurt yourself, like. Then you get like super excited about something little. You're like, oh, good job.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so fun, man. And they just light up, like, yeah.
I think it's so proud of themselves.
Oh yeah, man, it's so cool.
It's so cool.
But it's amazing how like exhausted you are at the end of the night. You're like, whew, all right, I gotta eat some food and put myself to bed.
Yes, and Lord knows my kid just loves to get up at like 4 or 5 every day.
Oh man,
Every day.
yeah.
I just want to sleep.
Yeah, just once. and then they'll become teenagers, and then they'll sleep way more than you want
Till
them to
3
sleep.
p.m.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's wild, man. I felt like I don't know, was it late nights or something, but you're growing so much. I remember like when I got I took a year off, so I went back to college, and I was like had like I was working at Conway Trucking. I had like a random trucker tell me like, at this point in your life, you need more sleep than you think. And I was like, that doesn't seem right. It doesn't really check out from what I've heard. Especially like growing up with like folks who just don't sleep much, like ranchers and stuff.
Yep.
Like and
Getting up at all hours.
yeah, and like working on minimal, 4 or 5 hours of sleep and just hammering out a long day. And then when I got into college, they were saying that too. Like I can't remember the age frame ranges, but they had like a chart of like at this age you need this much sleep, and this age, and like from your teens into like almost your early 20s, like you require the most sleep because your body's growing so
Sure.
much. Like your brain, was your brain stop growing at 25 typically? So it's like you're doing all this, like I don't know, like metabolism, but like like you're creating these new cells and still growing all these things. So
Right.
you require so much more
That's
rest to
interesting.
build.
I wonder about that because I feel like I was always trying to sleep as much as I could, but I never felt like I was that great of a sleeper either.
Yeah, I know, man. I never.
That's interesting.
Yeah, like I never felt as rested, but I think it's because like things are growing so much, and like I was a late bloomer, so like into college, I was still growing. You know, like I didn't max out in height and fill out until like early 20s to like 27, I think is when I finally.
Really?
I got to like.
Well, I know my brain stopped growing because I feel like I'm getting dumber every day.
Yeah, I definitely have that going on too. So that's
boy,
good.
I was always the tallest kid.
Oh, really?
Up until about 8th grade, and then everybody else started getting a lot taller than me, and I was like, boy, I'm actually not tall.
Yeah, hey, what happened here? I had the opposite, man. I was just like, the short fella, and then I got like average, and I was like, oh, I'm okay with this. And then I finally kept growing. Finally got up to 6 foot, and now I think I'm on the decline there.
Man, I'm still at that 5'9".
Yeah,
that's what I tell myself.
You'll get there, man. You know, like you just gotta like think big, man. You get those inches. I had this real hard landing in West, and I swear, man, I lost that I feel like I dipped under 6 foot after that one, man. Like I went like heels to tailbone, and like a hard. Like,
was it a training jump or a?
It was a training jump. So like, luckily I didn't have to go fight fire, but like I had to do like some serious like sit there and think about my life and like all the systems, like toes, okay, ankles, okay.
That's a terrible feeling.
It is, dude.
Like, please wiggle.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
my toes are wiggling.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good sign.
Yeah, that's a good start. Yeah.
Were you on a round or a square?
Yeah, I was on the round. So like I had a little bit of forward momentum until I hit the canopy, and they were pretty tall trees. And so like once you hit the canopy, there's no wind. And so I just like went straight down, like, you know, like a rock, and man, and I was trying to oscillate the canopy a little bit to try to get some kind of a roll out of it, and like I had it kind of pitched, and then when it swung back, it just like right perfect, like as my heels touched, and just like folded me in like a, you know, just like crushing a can. You know?
Man.
And like after that, man, I felt like I lost a little bit of my height. Like,
how long did you jump?
5 years.
5
seasons, yeah.
So you were out of
2013 to 2018.
13 to 18. Were you West most of the time?
No, I rookied out at NCSB my first season.
That's right.
Yeah,
okay.
At North Cascade Smoke Trooper Base, and that was awesome, man. But they had a budget issue, which, you know, a lot of places had back then. So I was chasing the perm.
Sure.
So I went to West, and that was cool, but it's kind of the same scenario. You know, like I really liked West a lot too. Like it was a cool small base, and like, you know, I went from small base to small base. And then as West, you know, as Region 1, and Grangeville and Missoula are all in Region 1, so like they all kind of work together and usually do like a big rookie training. So I got a lot of experience like working with Missoula. And originally Missoula is where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Because like Young Men in Fire and all these like stories that I knew were out of Missoula, man, and the DC3 was there. So like I wanted to get a jump out of the DC3, so I ended up going to Missoula and chasing the perm there. And then by the time I was like ready for a perm, my body's falling out of me. So, you know, I've told this quite a few times on the podcast, but yeah, so like I was starting to detail out more, and then spring of 2018, when I was getting ready to refresh again, then I got picked up by Great Falls Fire Department, and what's actually Great Falls Fire and Rescue, but it's the Great Falls Fire Department.
Right. Is that part of the consortium?
Yep.
Consortium?
Yep. Consortium. Yeah, dude, you'll hear it either way, depending on who you talk to.
Well, I did that my first year when I was out here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was like, you know, I had fire quals back in Virginia. I was with Little Fork Volunteer Fire.
Oh, cool.
And that was kind of where I got the bug.
Yeah.
You know, I remember doing the training where you're walking with the fan, you're going towards the propane tank, and you're you know, get the fan out wide, and then you bring it in narrower as you get closer. And the flames it was a training, propane fire, Blevy training, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the flames were just like coming out and hitting my turnout gear, and I was like, this is so much fun.
Yeah.
This is wild.
Yeah, dude.
And yeah, that just kind of stuck with me. So that was my intent, was when I got out here. We showed up on, I want to say May 31st of 2015, and on, I think it was like June 2nd, I drove out to Great Falls to do that consortium thing.
Oh, yeah.
Got it all knocked out.
Wait, what year was that?
15.
15. Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Got it all knocked out and like passed everything. So I'm picking up all these applications, and I'm like, cool, there's a future.
Yeah, man.
And then all of them say you have to be an EMT.
Oh,
and I was like, ugh. So I used the VA, and I got plugged into ARI. They had like a 1-month EMTB with a 10-day up in the Bob wilderness EMT.
Cool.
And I was like, you're going to let me go camping? heck yeah, let's do this thing. So Bob Marshall Wilderness, all that. And it was like the last week, right before I was going to go take the NREMT test.
Yeah, national.
Yeah, the national.
Yeah, EMT.
Yeah. And the last week of school, I got a call from Missoula Rural.
Oh, dude.
And they were like, we'd love to interview you. And I was like, sweet. So I got all gussied up, showed up, sitting in front of the panel. And the very last question was like, so describe your EMT experience. And I was like, well, I've volunteered lots of calls, back in Virginia. And this week I'm getting my NREMT test done. Yeah. And all the red pens came out. And I was like, no.
No, come on. I want to be with you guys.
I gave too much information.
Yeah. I kind of did the same thing because I didn't have much EMT time either, because I did the same thing. I did a condensed course in Bozeman and then went through all the interviews, had no ambulance time, and, just for the course, we had to do like a day or something, like a shift. And
12-hour
12 hours. Yeah. So like right along, so it was like the only experience I had, and I wasn't really like too much on the medical stuff, like I didn't really have much desire. So like it was my fault by not doing it. But like I didn't also realize it was that important, Like,
wait, yeah. I always thought the firefighters were the guys that hung off the back of the truck, with the dog chasing it down the street.
Yeah, from all the movies, the cool stuff.
Yeah. And then it's like, some of the EMT stuff is brutal.
It is brutal,
Props
man.
to those people, because that is definitely a calling. And I think
it is, dude. And have that patience.
A lot of people in this line of work, especially with the Forest Service, all that, I think it is definitely a calling. I think that's something that it takes a real special group of people to go do what you do. And it's really impressive to be around them. But the EMS side, man, that is a rough world.
It is, man. It's like, we talk about us being underpaid, which, I think we are, but like them, man, holy, they are really underpaid.
Yeah. Like, and the 911 dispatchers,
bro.
Always felt for those guys. Cause we only have to deal with the fire. So
yeah,
fire side of things, it's usually a little bit more manageable.
Yeah, totally.
And we'd call them up, and ask them for info, or they'd call us, and they just would always sound extremely busy.
Yeah, totally. Like, they're not even like enough time to be like, how's things going? Like, you can't even like this. They don't have time for it. You know? Like, and I knew, so I didn't say anything. But like, when they call us, and I'd be like, we'd be exchanging information about a fire burn, whatever it might have been, like they needed. But it was like, okay, bye. It's like, okay, I get it. Yeah, it's brutal, man. Like, an EMT just, even a paramedic doesn't really make a lot for like how hard that schooling is, man. Like,
and that's a long time. And that keeping up with your CEs or continuing education credits and all that stuff, that's a lot of extra work.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
It's exhausting.
Yeah. Oh, it is, dude. And that consortium test's pretty cool, though, huh?
Oh, I had so much fun, flinging ladders and...
yeah, man. Like,
here's 2 minutes, memorize this city plan, and, like, on what corner was the pet shop? Like, I don't... Well, there was a pet shop?
Yeah, there's so much on that map. I was like, oh, man. Like, luckily my team of brain cells got together and really put some effort on that one.
In the Marine Corps, they would put us through Kimberly games, or Kim's games.
I heard.
And they would have like a whoopee, poncho liner.
Oh.
It's one of the absolute best blankets you'll ever use. And it's like, whoopies are fantastic.
You had my interest, now you have my attention. what makes this thing so great?
It's the material. I don't know, but like if you're ever cold, you got your whoopee, you're golden. You're just instantly like, I don't know. It's just something about them. Probably because you're usually in a really terrible situation when you're using them. Like you're just cold, hungry, tired, all that. But
comfort blanket.
It is.
It's gonna be all right.
A little blankie.
Yeah.
But what they do is they take the whoopee or something and lay it out like a tarp, and then they would just have random stuff placed on it, and then they'd say, okay, 2 minutes, memorize this thing, and then we're gonna cover it up, and you have to draw a picture of what you saw.
Oh.
And I think that really helped with that consortium test, because it's like I've kind of learned how to use that side of my brain. So that was kind of fun for me. I just really, I don't know. It's like a test where it's not math.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, back to mapping. Yeah, I'm with you there, dude. Yeah.
So.
And like to be able to train that a little bit too, man, that's got to be huge. Because I know a few folks were getting weeded out by just that map. You know, like they were just bombing it because like they would stare, and then you know you're under stress. It's super quiet in there, and you're like, you know, I really want this job, you know, and so you just are trying to like put too much pressure, and so your recall is just garbage when you go to, you know, when they take the map away and you got to recall, you know, what's going on there.
Yeah, that's a whole new level of anxiety.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I'm a bad test taker in general, so
yeah,
having that and then them taking it away, it's like, oh gosh, I really hope I remember this.
Oh, I know, I'm with you, man. Yeah, I feel like I just like data dump at the wrong time. You know, like my brain will quit as I'm walking into the test, and I'm like, wait a minute, I need this for another hour.
Yeah, right.
You know, oh, it's so bad, man. And yeah, the physical part of that consortium is super cool too.
That
like,
was so much fun.
Yeah, like 75 pounds on the treadmill, and then run the hose, right? And then I'm gonna get this messed up because it's been so long.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, and then there was like the chainsaw and the other saw carry, and then you put it in the bin, and then there was a
there a dummy?
Yeah, there's a dummy drag.
Okay.
And the dummy drag, I think, usually goes into the pike pull one where you're pushing and pulling.
Yes.
And that's at least when I took it, that was the finish. And then there's like a small spaces one where you go through like the tunnel.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I remember the one random, like, you had to lift a ladder up.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
Like you had
and
to, like,
you pulled.
something.
Yeah, I think you had to set it up and then pull. And if you like let it slide, you would get done. Like the weird little things on that physical test.
Yeah.
Like it was game over, you know.
Disqualified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing with the loading thing too. I think you had to like set the saws down and then grab them one at a time to load them into the compartments.
Yeah.
And if you just like, because you have them in your hands.
Yeah.
If you just threw one at a time, then you were DQ'd as well.
That's right.
Yeah, I remember like really like making myself pause on those ones.
Yeah. It was so reminiscent of like doing a combat fitness test where, you know, you have an ammo can, you have to press a certain number of times in 2 minutes, and you have to do like a weird, I don't even remember how it goes now, but basically you would take 2 ammo cans, carry them like sprinting, set them down, then you sprint back, pick up a buddy, throw him over your shoulder, sprint down.
Yeah.
And Vic Garcia, if you're ever listening to this thing, I tossed this dude. And I felt so bad. But he was, you know, short, muscular dude, and so we were right about the same height, weight, all that. And I just wanted to pass the test, you know. Get down and just hook.
Oh no, pitched him.
Just hear, ugh! And yeah, he wasn't too thrilled about that.
Oh, I bet,
awesome
man.
dude. But yeah.
Sorry, buddy. just trying to win. Oh, dude.
Ain't first, you're last.
Yeah, exactly, man. You gotta give full effort, you know. Poor Vic. Was it Victor?
Vic, yeah.
Poor Vic.
Yeah. He's one hell of a guy, though.
Yeah. He probably should. He understood. He probably shook it off, right?
Yeah. He's probably like, I'm going to throw you next time.
Yeah, exactly. Just wait. Yeah. So that kind of reminds me of something else I want to talk to you about. You were almost a pilot, or you are a pilot, but you got like a ton of hours, right?
Yeah, almost. I went through flight school, did helicopter advanced out of Whiting Field, and basically I walked in to sign for my wings, and they were like, hey, we're pulling out of Iraq. We have too many students awaiting the fleet. We need you guys to take a new MOS, military occupational specialty. So, yeah, I had about I think 130 hours in helicopters, and then another close to 100 hours in fixed wing. Yeah. And then 2018, I actually got back into flight school, and the local flight club here was fantastic, and they were helping me kind of accelerate because I had a lot of experience. Well, not a lot, I guess, but
you got a lot of hours.
More so than normal students, right?
Yeah.
And so they were pushing me through the pipeline, and I got to solo, and I started working on some short field landing stuff with the little Cessna aircraft here,
cool.
just having fun flying around the mountains. And then fire season ended, and all of that overtime money that I had spent on flight school was like, oh, probably. Like, we still got Christmas coming up. We got birthdays. Like, we need to go make some more money.
Yeah,
so
need to tighten things up a little bit here.
Yeah.
Financially.
Yeah.
Dang, dude.
So I'm chasing it a little bit, but
yeah,
I think now with the kiddo and all that kind of stuff, just kind of focusing on building the property that we got now and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so.
doing the life things first.
Yeah.
No, I get it, man. Well, that's why I was curious, because like I'd always thought about it, especially when smoke jumping, you ride around in little planes all the time. And I was like, this is super cool, you know. And
I'm jealous you got to fly in a Doug.
Yeah,
that's
dude.
awesome.
Yeah, so cool, man. Like, I got quite a bit of time in that sucker. I'm pretty fortunate, man. And because you don't even really see him that much anymore. It feels like, you know.
No, you really don't. And that's such a pretty airplane.
It's beautiful,
I mean,
man.
Yeah.
I was so bummed out, and they were fighting hard to try to keep it because it was made at the end of World War II, and then it was just kind of mothballed for a little bit, I think. And then they used it for a few other things with the Forest Service, because the Forest Service got it somehow, and they were using it for like bloodworm spraying and like a bunch of like random things.
Really?
Yeah, and like I'm probably just butchering the history, and I'll have to ask Dan about it because I guarantee he knows. But and then we got it, and it had like really low flight hours, and then they did the turboprop upgrade to it.
Yeah.
So, and when they did that, they had to take everything apart, and they actually had to stretch the fuselage a little bit for the balance, because the new engines were actually way more powerful, but way lighter, you know, because the rotary ones are heavy, you know, super heavy. And so it was a little longer, and then more power, and then had to get rebalanced. But they also like X-rayed all the critical parts, I think.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, make sure it's up to snuff.
Airframe. Yeah, they basically X-ray the airframe and look for little micro cracks and, you know, that kind of stuff. Is that?
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah, to make sure it was good. So, like, I mean, it has less hours than the Sherpas and the stuff that we're using now.
That's wild.
Because and I understand what they did, so I don't want to blame like somebody. Like, they didn't want the DC-3 in use because, like, okay, so something happens, right? And just random, you know, like whatever could happen. Like, it's just, you know, life, you know, stuff happens.
Sure.
And like accident, DC-3 goes down, you know, like, or whatever happens in like tragedy. Then people are going to be like, why were you flying a World War II plane around doing these operational jumps? You know, like.
Because it's an amazing airplane.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, yeah, and that's what like the pilots and everybody was trying to fight for, like, because it was made amazing and it's got no hours, you know, like, sure, it was made then, but it's still like capable for the job. It's everything we need.
Is it as much of a vomit comet as people say?
Oh man, yeah, we had some rough ones. Like, luckily I don't get airsick. Well, I don't know, because I think it can kind of come on like the flu. Sure. Like, it'll just all of a sudden hit you. And yeah, you probably know, like, being in the military and a lot of flight hours. Like, some people like wake up one day and all of a sudden they puke. And from talking to guys who do get, or folks who do get airsick, it was just like one day all of a sudden they got airsick, pop that cork, and never could, like. Yeah. It was just all the time then. But
they have like air sickness chairs
that
you sit in, and it's one way to help cure it, if it can be cured.
Yeah.
And like
just fight through it. Or
you
what?
literally just sit in this chair and they spin you around a bunch. It gets your inner ear all wonky.
It was like tuning your inner ear to get it ready for that, which makes sense because I think that thing would kind of like tail a little bit, but it had those big wings that came off the belly, so it kind of flap a little bit. And so like we'd hit like those ridges, and the air gets compressed in the ridge, and it would just be like a shear, just hammer that DC-3, so you get like this big like violent like shaking, like, and we're doing circles, that's like the pattern for when you're getting ready for a jump.
Right.
You're doing circles over your jump spot, you're throwing streamers. So we're like double tapping this ridge, like 'cause we're hitting on both sides, and man, we had that thing loaded. We had like, I don't know, I think at the time, like with cargo, I want to say it was like 18 jumpers you could have, and it's busy, like it's your shoulder to shoulder in there, and I'm at the nose of this thing where it's hot and there's not a lot of air, and the door, we fly the door off, so like it's super hot. My buddy Big Ido, Ed Lynn, is like a couple people down from me, and that almost might be worse if you're in the middle, like and he's a long time jumper. I think he's like 55 at this time, man, and he'd been jumping a long time, and like I'd never really seen him sick, and all of a sudden like. So he's getting my attention, and because I'm at the nose, and that's where like the earplugs and the puke bags are.
Oh.
Right behind the cockpit, and so I'm sitting there, and he's like pointing, and I'm thinking like, that thing's loud. Maybe he wants some earplugs, like so. I hit him with the, and I thought that was a great toss, and right in the chest, and he like picks it up, and he's like, what the, and like I could see he's not very happy with my choice. So I'm like, oh no, so I just like start like throwing, the puke bags at him, like just shotgunning him, like. And so like he gets like 4 of these things, and he opens it up, and he's like, man, it's weird though. He's like, as soon as like I had the relief that I could like let it go, it subsided. So
really,
he was good. He shoved the puke bags in his pocket, and then I'm just kind of like hanging out. Like I'm feeling fine. I'm like not really aware of what's happening because I'm more focused on like I'm about to go out the plane. So I'm like looking at the streamers and focusing on the jump spot and all that stuff, and I'm watching the streamers, and there's a lot of wind out there. So I'm like. I don't know if I'm going on this one, because I'm on the round at this point, and like we're almost full with Ram Air folks, and it's not too much wind drift for them, so they're gonna go. And so we go through our jump ups and everything, and people are already puking at this point. And so people are puking in the air, and people are puking into the ground. My buddy Big Idaho, I think he told me he puked when he hit the ground. And then so we get all the air mirrors out, and there's like 3 of us rounds left on the plane, and then we have the 2 spotters and the 2 pilot, the pilot and the co-pilot. And so we're like, all right, like they said, the wind kind of settled down on the ground, so we're like, we might be able to throw the rounds. I'm like, all right, cool, So I'm like getting ready, and we're up in the Kootenai area, and I'd never been up there, so I was like, at that point, I'd never been up there, so I was like, all right, man, I need to get to go jump now. This is gonna be cool. And we got a stacked load. I want to go fight fire with other folks there on the ground, and throw another set of streamers. The wind gets squirrely again, and it comes up even harder. So like, all right, never mind. We'll do cargo then. So we're gonna go line up for cargo. You sit back down, get seat belted in, and just the spotters are loose to move around, and the spotters are just getting the shit kicked out of them.
Oh no,
dude, it's like so gnarly, man. Like they're rustling the food boxes that are like, I don't know, like 75 pounds or something. 50 pounds. I can't remember what the weight is on a food box. It was pretty hefty. And then the QB 5 gallons of water, like a 5 times 8, 40 pounds, right? So like probably a little more because it's got a parachute and stuff on it, So like I remember like something happened. Like I think he kicked a food box. One of the spotters kicked a food box, and then we hit just a hard shear and like got flat backed with the QB on top of him, and then just like rolled over and just like I think probably swore and just like pitched the QB out just randomly. I'm like, well, I hope they gets where they need it. You're just like so over it, man. Just getting hammered by like box after box, just trying to get the stuff out the door, And then
sounds like a rodeo, man.
It was wild, man. And like I felt so bad, like I can't help because like part of our SOPs and like their safety, probably in the ice smog is like, if you're not involved in cargo and you're not tethered to the plane, because like those guys are tethered to the plane,
sure,
you can't be out moving around, And you're coming in at like 200 AGL above ground level, so like we're taking these like drastic like downhill and uphill like runs, and so it's pretty gnarly in itself, and then hitting those shears on the way in and out, man, is pretty nuts. And so then everything settles down, and we got all the cargo out, and we got 3 jumpers available, so it's like we let everybody know like, hey, we're up and we're heading back to Missoula, but if anyone else needs us, we got three people we can provide. And so the assistant spotter, he gives me like a thing of nibs, and so like I'm super Lewis who gave it to me, and I was like, oh, thanks, Lewis, and so like, and since I haven't been up there, and I'm right by the door, so and the windows are decent size, so I'm like running back and forth, like not really running, but like cruising pretty quickly, and a plane will move, even a big plane like that, you'll get some movement, so like. I'm like, I cruise over the door, and I'd see something, and I'd be like, oh, it's cool. And I'd see something like past the other side. So I'm like, oh, I gotta see that. And I'm like, just eating my nibs, just like going from side to side, and the plane's rocking. And I look up, and like the 2 of the round jumpers are just like over a puke bag, just like glaring at me, like, oh, my bad. So then I just like sat down with like my leg hanging out the door, and like my head kind of hanging out the door, and just eating my nibs and like checking stuff out. And then turns out I think everybody puked but me. I think even the pilots. So long story long, that the vomit comment is very accurate. Oh, it was a wild one, dude.
That sounds like a really uncomfortable flight.
Yeah, it's mostly me being unaware of my environment, my surroundings, and making it worse for people, So,
just sitting there all happy.
Yeah.
Everybody else is suffering.
Yeah, dude. I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like, oh, the sweet dam over here. You guys want to see this? They're like, I hate you.
That's rad, dude.
Yeah, man. But it did. I mean, it kind of wore me out though. Like when I got back, just from like all the jostling and like just the getting hammered. Like I remember feeling like almost like when you get off a long boat ride.
Sure.
You like your balance is a little weird because like I was doing that whole rocking. Like it was weird weather the whole way back. Like in the way there, I guess up was like priming. I think people for like a good puke session.
Dude, the mountain weather here is wild.
It is, man. Like, especially being in dispatch and seeing it, like...
Yeah, how it'll, like, either... If it doesn't go up the west side of the mountains here, it'll come around to the south, and sometimes it just blows right over, and...
Yeah.
I mean...
There's, like, that dead spot, too, in the radar, so, like, it'll just, like, disappear.
Yeah. It's really nice there.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird, You see, like, a big blob coming, all of a sudden it's gone.
Yeah.
And,
where did it go?
Yeah, and then later you see, like, the split, like, where it's going, like, past Sula and Missoula. You're like, oh, I guess it got split off, but like you don't see the time where it like broke up, you know, 'cause
Right.
like that dead spot.
Absolutely. And like, I don't know, my wife will always pull up her phone and be like, oh, it's supposed to be sunny tomorrow. It's like, let's just wait.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see what it actually looks like.
Yeah.
'Cause sometimes it's on, sometimes it's not.
Yeah, today was one of those days for me because I was checking the weather to see if I could bring this to August because he's laid up. You get meniscus surgery, so I was.
Ouch.
Yeah, he's out in East Missoula, so I was gonna go out to Emu and pick him up. And I was thinking like comfortability. I mean, these are big benches, so he could have laid down, but I was like, I'll just be way more comfortable in his own spot, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
So I cruised up, but I was like, and I thought it was gonna be super cold and overcast, and I was like, I mean, this thing can be kind of chilly. So like, I didn't want him like, you know, your body's already kind of weird, and you don't get uncomfortable after surgery when you're already sore and stuff, you know. And he was real fresh out. I didn't realize. So
Really?
Yeah.
Ugh, that's a bummer.
Yeah. So, but you know, today actually, I mean, it was super cold today, like still is, but man, it was a really nice, like, sunny day though.
Yeah, we went out to cut a tree down.
Oh, did you get one?
It was
Christmas tree, right?
Yeah. And the little guy was just bundled up, and I'm sitting there just chattering.
Yeah.
Like, just cold.
That's probably where he's still chilly, man. Like, I know, like, for me, if I get like that to the core, like if I'm out for a long time, I feel like I get to the core kind of cold, and like it takes a while to warm up. Like,
right.
Usually it's like a hot spring visit for me. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Hot spring sounds nice.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. Like, man, maybe tomorrow you and the family go get after a hot spring.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, have you been to all the hot springs around?
No, I've done Jerry Johnson. I think that's what it's called.
Yep.
But that was about 2015.
Oh man.
And I think I've done that one twice, but I haven't gotten to a lot, actually.
I'm just thinking about it right now, man. Kind of depriving the bod of a good experience.
Well, shoot, man. I need to follow your lead and go the sauna route.
Yeah, the sauna is huge, dude.
Yeah.
Like, after my surgery, man, like I was, like all I could really do, and I was cold, you know, because I lost so much weight. So like man, just so nice every evening to just go in there, plop down, and
we've got a Japanese soaking tub at our 40 up in Wisconsin.
Oh, really?
And
I don't know what that is, so talk to me.
It's like, you know, when the witch tries to cook Bugs Bunny, and they have the big
like cauldron
with the fire underneath it. Well, this is a wooden tub that is hooked up to basically a wood burning stove.
Whoa.
And it takes hours to get it to the right temperature and all that. But when it's freezing outside and you've been working on your property, like we do a lot of timber prep, timber sale prep, that kind of stuff up there. And we were up there for Thanksgiving, and having that little warm tub to get into at the end of the day, it was just perfect. Super cool.
Yeah. Is it like a barrel kind of shape? Like
it kind of, it's like a oval.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it like planks though, and like a metal band, right? Is that kind of how it's put together?
Yeah, kind of. It's I don't know if it has a metal band around it or what, but yeah, it's pretty swanky. Like it's just a neat little thing to have.
Super cool.
My wife has a sauna in her folks' home, and so like they had the horse trough outside that you'd go sit in this ridiculously hot sauna, and then you'd run outside and jump in the cold water, and in Virginia winter, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it's just super nice to have something like that.
Yeah, I got the horse trough, and I just haven't. I want to go get. My plan is, and I got to figure it out. I should probably just like Google like a mixture of like how salty I can make it to keep it from freezing, because I'm gonna get like a ton of Epsom salt, make sure it's all like mixed up nice, and so it'll stay super cold, but it's not gonna freeze and break my horse trough. Yeah, and also the Epsom salt's good for your body anyways too. So,
right.
Yeah, that's kind of the plan.
Just get one of those trough heaters.
I was thinking that, but that'd be like too warm, Like
no, it only heats up the top of the trough, so that way ice doesn't form. So the one I'm thinking of, the one we use
the little like coil one, right?
Yeah,
it submerges.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. Heat rises, right? So, man, maybe I got one, so maybe I'll just try it and like get like one of those like pool thermometers and see like what it tells me, because that might not be a bad plan. Because I got a pretty nice deep trough, and that's kind of I was wanting to do the heat and cold therapy, going in and out, and it's supposed to be amazing for you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I think I saw like a version. You said the Japanese tub you have in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I saw a version of it on like the first like home structure I ever did like structure protection on, and it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't like, it was a weird deal. It was like these folks want us to come like assess their house, and there wasn't really any threat of fire but like also I was just such a new guy, like had no idea what was going on, and like up in the middle of nowhere, you know, like
just kind of climb in the back of the truck and go wherever they go.
Yeah, like I couldn't find that place again if I tried, and that's in somewhere around Whitehall, like my hometown. Like I've been all over that place, and I went to Narnia and like was looking at this house and like so confused, and but they had like a hot tub. It was kind of what you described though, and it had the wood burner was like hanging on it, you know, like kind of mounted to the side, and then it had like wooden planks, and it was all belted together with two big metal belts, you know, that were tightened down. And my uncle had a hot tub similar like this, so I know you swell it slowly, and the planks kind of tighten up on their own. But then like it was heated by this wood burner, and I was like, whoa,
it's a pretty
super cool.
It's
man.
a pretty neat design.
Is it is yours attached, or how does it work?
So there's a wood burning stove kind of next to it, and then it's connected with some vent piping, and it just blows into the water.
Like circulates it?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So
man.
it's pretty. I like it.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, that's gonna be like Googling tonight, and you know, to early nights in the morning, and be like, God damn it, Ed. I'm looking up Japanese tubs until 1 in the morning.
Definitely worth it.
Yeah, I probably. Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever get one, but I like the idea. You know, my uncle's was super cool. It was like this old hot tub, and it was deep too. Like I really liked it, and he had a shop, and he had it built in, so like he had that big deep hot tub, and then he had a wood burning sauna in the corner, and so you know you can kind of go back and forth there, and have this cool deck. And I remember when he was moving, I was like, man, I wonder if he's got that hot tub. I'd like to buy it off him. And we're in his basement. His basement had never been finished until like a year before he was about to move over. He lived over by Bozeman. And so we're in the basement kind of like helping him get some stuff out, and like just checking some things out, like showing us kind of like the upgrades he did. And like it just hit me at that point. I was like, man, hey, I was like, man, you still got that hot tub? And he's like, sure do. And I was like, oh man, like what would you want for it? He's like, it'd be kind of hard to remove it now. I was like, what are you talking about? And we're like in the bathroom, and he used that old cool like cedar wood or whatever it was made out of, and lined his whole bathroom and finished his bathroom with it, and like used it as like a what's the word I'm looking for like a wall
shiplap.
Yeah, like a shiplap look. Exactly, that's the best way to put it. Yeah, it was kind of like a shiplap look with this old cool like
that's
cedar.
Awesome.
Yeah, it looked amazing, and I was like, so I wasn't even mad. I was like, that's a really good idea, but
really slick.
Yeah, but man, I really wanted that thing.
Well, yeah. So I guess there's a bunch of different types of wood that like they handle moisture and heat better than others.
Yeah. And
I've talked to my father-in-law about building a sauna someday, and he's like, well, yeah, you know, we use this African wood, but we're going to, when you guys build one, you know, you could look into these kinds of woods. And I was like, I had no idea.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
That much thought went into this.
Yeah.
I thought it was just a big box with a lot of steam and just heated you up.
Yeah, exactly. Just get the heat, like as long as you got some kind of heat source.
Yeah.
You know, like, I kind of got into it a little bit more when I was looking for mine, so I knew a little bit about it. But
do you guys use the little porcelain stones or whatever to pour water on to get it going, or you have an infrared?
No, yeah, it's the dry heat. It's like a heater with coils, but it has I can't remember, like almost like volcanic rock or something on top. Yeah. And you pour the water on it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Dude. They have some where like there are these little doll looking things, and you pour the water on it, and it like whistles.
Whoa.
And it makes noises and stuff. It blew my mind, dude.
That is nuts. Yeah. You're freaking some people out.
There's a whole industry there.
Look what you're doing to me. Look what you're doing to me. Now I'm gonna be looking at that tonight too. I have this weird doll in my sauna now. Oh man, that's pretty cool though, man. I like that idea. Like especially because like to me like a sauna especially is like a little zen area for me.
Right.
Like usually I'll put on like some kind of like zen kind of style music, or even like some like Native American music too, you know, like while I go in there and get my sweat on, and kind of getting back to my roots.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
And man, yes, I think it's Shantae Standing Rock, man. He's pretty good. I'll throw that on every once in a while.
Nice.
Yeah, he's awesome. But
are you a native?
Yeah, Nez Perce.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea, man. That's
really?
awesome.
Yeah, I thought that's how like the cheekbone talk started.
I had no idea.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm not a tribal member. You got to be a quarter to be a tribal member of Nez Perce, and
Gotcha.
I'm only an eighth, so.
Okay.
But yeah,
that's an eighth more than me.
Oh, well, you know, that's
props.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know what to say. Like,
that's cool. I had no idea. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I mean, I get a little tanner, I think, than the average person typically, and just the kind of cheekbones and stuff, But what was I gonna say? God, I was thinking about something.
You're listening to Standing Rock.
Oh yeah. So Shantae Standing Rock.
Standing Rock.
Yeah. He's pretty awesome there, man, and like just kind of cool, man. Just kind of gets me like more of like a chill zone, and I was gonna say like my great grandmother was on Hill 57, which is in Great Falls, which was like a pseudo reservation.
Yeah.
It was on PBS, and I kind of got a little more information on it. And there was like it was like a whole mix of different native tribes that were there. I don't know how my great grandmother ended up there, but my grandma lived there for a little while in like a tar shack, and then they moved out, and
really, that's something I'll have to look up.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Hill 57, like. It's funny because I got all this weird history on it because the reason why it's called Hill 57 is from Heinz 57. So like a rep from Heinz 57 went and put a bunch of rocks in the shape of 57 and then like whitewashed them, and so like, it's like Hill 57, and then right next to it is where like this kind of like reservation-ish place was where people were staying, and I think it's kind of closer to the airport. No, actually I know exactly where it is. Sorry, it's if you're going to Great Falls, but if you go through Great Falls, like you're heading to Canada, it'll be off the right side of the road, just past the second exit, I believe.
Really?
Yeah. I looked it up on the map after I watched this like PBS special on it and talking to my grandma. So
how does Heinz play into that?
I don't know why this guy got this wild idea of putting 57 on the hill, but then like when like natives and whoever, like I think it was a mix of like poor people and Native Americans like moved on to Hill 57. It was just like a location marker, It was like instead of being like by the river or something, it was like, yeah, they're up there by the Hill 57 sign,
Huh.
And it's not there anymore, but I guess there might be some remnant rocks hanging out. So yeah, part native, and and sweat lodges, like having a good sweat
for sure,
is part of all the indigenous, like ceremonies and stuff, so kind of get my own little ceremony going,
Dude, that's awesome. Good for you, man. That just to have the ability to do that is really something else. So
yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's so, man, I recommend it to everybody, dude. Like it's just like stress relieving and relaxing, and just
for sure.
Yeah, even if you're not stressed out, man, it's just like a nice thing to do in the you lost a feather.
Yeah, I've been leaking feathers
shedding
all day.
Yeah. That's the only downside of the down is eventually it pops a hole.
Always. Still
warm. But so like I mean, you get in the sauna, man, like even if it's just like you had a good day, it still like makes your day a little better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I highly recommend it, my friend. Is it a little squirrely on you?
A little squirrely.
Yeah.
It's all good.
So man, it's probably a good point to like wrap her up, I guess, huh, man?
I appreciate you letting me come on here and talk to you, man.
Dude,
I had a really good time.
Yeah, yeah, man, and I think we covered all the stuff that I really want to cover, especially lead forward. Like making sure you have all those boxes checked for hiring.
Sure.
Like DD14, SF15, right?
Yeah.
And what was the other one? Service record, right?
Service verification and benefits letter from the VA.
Yeah, and then.
But the best thing to do would just be to either hit myself or Dan up or Veterans and Fire on Instagram. That's a 501c3 now. It's a nonprofit that we just take a ton of resumes and we spread them out and help people find work. So
awesome, man.
Yeah,
that's huge, dude. You guys are doing some really good work there, man.
Yeah, it's been a real neat opportunity to be a part of that world. So
yeah, I think it benefits both sides, right? Because like someone who's come from a structured organization like the military to go into another, not probably quite a structured organization, but still structured in the Forest Service or anywhere in the wildland.
There's so much that's hand in hand. I mean, with the 10s and 18s to like that goes hand in hand with general orders for the military side,
really?
Or the
10-18, 10 firefighter orders and 18 watchouts, right?
Yes, yeah. And so we have 10 general orders in the military, and that's basically your standard rules to live by when you're on watch.
Gotcha.
And then like even Nomex. I mean, that was something that was researched and developed between the DoD and the Forest Service. They worked hand in hand with that.
Oh, really? Department of Defense, huh? I didn't know that.
And smoke jumper ops.
Yeah.
So all of that kind of stuff, it all comes from somewhere. You walk around Missoula Jump Base, and there are tons of like ODA teams that have worked with smoke jumpers and that kind of stuff. Like it all matches up.
Yeah, it's weird. Like you said, like the intermixing, like because which I didn't know until I was a smoke jumper. Like originally, smoke jumping was the only. I mean, there's some like sport jumping things going on, like kind of experiments, but like really small. And then until smoke jumping became a thing, there was no really organized training when it came to parachuting.
Yeah.
So like smoke jumping was the first, and then like right as 1939 is when NCSB claims first jump base. So like after, and that's after all the testing and stuff. Like when supposedly became a thing. Missoula claims 40, I think, and Missoula does have the first fire jump. So there's an argument there.
Oh, yeah.
But so like then war breaks. Or we enter the war, World War II.
Sure.
And we need paratroopers, and so they go to the Forest Service and recruit the Forest Service folks to help out with the paratrooper training, and then you get paratroopers and and then the military runs with it. You get all those like halo jumps and hi ho jumps and all this crazy awesome stuff, man. That I'm really jealous I never got to get a chance to do anything like that.
Well, I mean, it's good that there is that interagency discussion happening, and that those people are being utilized, and it goes back to that whole interpersonal relationship building. I mean, that kind of, we are not anything without each other, so that's kind of where it all stems from.
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah. That's a good point. That's a good place to leave off, I think, man. Cool. Dude, I appreciate you being on, man.
Hey,
and
my pleasure, man.
Can't wait for you to get that pilot license, man.
I'll work on it, man. Probably not anytime soon.
Yes, kind of same, man. It's always on the back burner for me, but something I'd like to do someday.
Absolutely, man. Well, thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on, man. I appreciate you coming.
Awesome.